Welcome everybody and good day to all of you. It is our privilege and good luck that Swami Tadanandaji Maharaj Ji, the minister in charge of Vedanta Center, Auckland, New Zealand, is with us. He will share his thoughts on the teaching on Swami Vivekananda's definition of education. So we will hear him in detail. And as part of this program, this is a program on the concept of education of Sri Ramakrishna. We learn so long as we live, Javat Jivan Tavat Sikhi. So this is the fourth session of the lecture under this series. Before that, we we had a session of 51 lectures in the context of a pandemic to give moral sustenance and spiritual sustenance to the people. We organized this set of lectures by well-known monks of the order from all over the world. Before we start the program, I would like to mention to you that one of our very important devotees and one of the basic pillars of our center, Miss Rosanna, has been keeping unwell, and she is going to have a surgery tomorrow. So we all of us pray intensely at the feet of the Holy Trio for her welfare and her speedy recovery and successful surgery. And with these words, I would request our spiritual advisor, Udarandaji Maharaj, to kindly say a few words before Swami Tadanandaji Maharaj starts his lecture. Udarandaji Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Nirmaji. Thank you very much, all of you, for kindly joining. I, on the behalf of the Ramakrishna Vedanta Society of the Philippines, welcome you all. We are continuing this. At first, initially, we thought that we will continue this session till pandemic, but even now that we have discovered this new technology, we decided to take this further and share the knowledge and learn from our learned monks of spread all over the world of the Ramakrishna order. With this motive in mind, with this concept in mind, we are running this present online sessions. At present, our topic is Javat Vachi Tavat Sikhi, that is the concept of education by Sri Ramakrishna. Now the question is, what is education? So what do we mean by learning? What is that there to be learned? So we have selected that kind of topics related to pertinent to that main objective, and based on that, our revered Tadanandaji Maharaj has agreed to talk on Swami Vivekananda's concept of education. What do we really mean by education? Is it a university degree or is it more than that? So, without much ado, I would request Mr. Swami Tadanandaji, Revered Swami Tadanandaji, to present his talk. And we are really, really very grateful to you, Maharaj, for kindly accepting our request. Even though the time zone difference is there, understand we are in three different time zones. Manila is in one time zone, India is in one, and Auckland is one. But in spite of that, we are able to conduct this. So I'm very, very grateful to you. Revered Maharaj, the mic is yours. Thank you very much once again, everybody, for kindly joining this session. Thank you.
ॐ निरञ्जनं नित्यम् अनन्तरूपं भक्तानुकम्पाधृतविग्रहं वै ईशावतारं परमेशमिड्यं तं रामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि. Thank you for the introduction and welcome, Swami Udaranandaji Maharaj and Nirmalji, and good to see some of our Auckland devotees has also joined here, some from Brisbane. Nice to see you all. As mentioned, I've been requested to speak on the subject of education on the theme "As long as I live, so long do I learn," and and I will try to discuss that in a little bit more detail. But it will be interesting how these ideas will be implemented in our own individual life. From what I see, none of you are going to go to school, so there's no point talking about going to school. But Krishna, this whole life is a school, a journey of learning. And so, what do we mean by that? First, I will talk about what Swami said as the essence of education. And he said that it's not the amount of information that we cram in our head, we produce in our examinations and get a certificate, but it is assimilation of ideas. Assimilation of ideas. And he said if a person has assimilated 5 ideas, that person has more education than somebody who has 4 ideas. What do you mean by that assimilation? And how do we develop that power of assimilation? Let's use a practical example, analogy that we are familiar with. We every day eat food, we chew it down, break it down, and then the body secretes various enzymes, the food is broken down through the process of digestion into amino acids, sugars, and salts, and vitamins, and then it is absorbed into the blood, and then it is taken into our cells where it is burned and energy is released. That final process is to do with assimilation, cellular respiration. Only then the whole purpose of eating has been of any value. Otherwise, if we just digest it, store it in our body, we only carry out so much fat and load around, and that is not of much use to us. Likewise, in our normal education system, we take in so much information, we store them in our head, hardly use them most of it. So, and that education is of not much value. So, this assimilation of ideas is what Swami Vivekananda says is the essence of education. How do we assimilate these ideas? What do we mean by that? Just like food is for the physical body, ideas are food for the mind. Concepts, thoughts, teachings, whether it's about the physical material world through secular education or spiritual ideas from our scriptures. We require a reasonably sharp degree of concentration to understand secular ideas that is taught in our universities, Apara Vidya. But when it comes to spiritual knowledge, then another very fine intellect is necessary to understand that, to grasp the essence of it. So you'll see in the Gospel when Master Mahasaya has recorded various teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, now and then he would ask him, tell me what did you hear? Repeat. And Master Mahasaya would narrate it, restate it. And Sri Ramakrishna would say, you must assimilate this. You should not just understand the words and ideas, you must assimilate it. And what is that assimilation of ideas?
Monty, sir, sorry for the interruption. If you can kindly speak a bit louder, that will be great.
Okay, I'll bring the mic closer to me. Is that better?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay. So this assimilation of ideas is the important part of education. That is one of the important things. How do we develop that capacity, that subtle intellect, power of discrimination to remove the essence of wisdom or knowledge from information? And you'll see that when it comes to spiritual knowledge, that is what is developed through our spiritual sadhana. Those who have developed that capacity, that refined buddhi, sukshma buddhi, that subtle discriminative intelligence, sukshma buddhi is in the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna says the Atman is to be discovered not in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Kathopanishad. It is said that Drishyatu agraya buddhya sukshmaya sukshma darshibhi. The seers of subtle truth, the rishis, are called sukshma darshi, mantra drastas. And what they had done through their spiritual sadhana, japa, and meditation and tapasya is awaken that higher power that's available in all of us, that subtle power of intelligence with which they could discern the essence of the spiritual teachings and separate the real from the unreal, the eternal immortal Atman from the ever-changing world. So this is what makes a difference in a person's life. One who has developed this capacity is very successful. Others get confused with these ideas, mixed up with all uh, uh, falsehood, so to say, in this age, misinformation and everything, are not able to discern the truth from the unreal, the false knowledge that is there. But the definition that I want to discuss today is a very unique definition that is not mostly quoted. Most of the time we quote Swamiji's definition, education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. Uh, Today I will take up the other definition, and he says somewhere, the training by which the current and expression of will is brought under control and made fruitful is education. And I would like to explore that definition word by word, phrase by phrase, and then we will see how that can be related in our everyday life. So the first word is training. Training is something that you do repeatedly. When you go to a gymnasium, you want to lift a bigger weight, but you start with a lower 5 kg, and repeatedly you work against the force of gravity. And you give a signal to your body that you require strength, and the body responds by developing various muscle fibers. And very soon you have developed the capacity to lift that 5 kg weight comfortably. And you can keep on developing that, more and more weight you can lift. So it's a form of training. So something that we will have to do repeatedly. This is called abhyasa. When you do something again and again and again, that is called abhyasa. So it's a training, a form of training. And we master that, we develop the skills, the mind develops that capacity until it is very comfortable with it. When we do something again and again, just like the first time you're sitting in the car and driving, your whole attention is on the steering wheel, on the gear and the brakes and everything. But after a couple of years of driving, you become an expert. You don't consider all those details. You can be thinking, having a conversation, doing other things, and your driving is almost automatic. That is what happens through abhyasa. We master that we can almost do it unconsciously. So it's a training by which, that means the training itself is not the end product, it's a means to an end. What is that? The training by which the current and expression of will is brought under control. So we introduce a new idea, the will. And in a bigger context, if we see, to put how the individual as a microcosm is related to the macrocosm, which is the whole universe. Let us say, go to the Vedanta philosophy. The substratum of this whole universe is the cosmic consciousness called Brahman. That Brahman, when it's in the process of Srishti, Sthiti, Vinasha, creation, preservation and destruction, is called Shakti. At the highest point, it is called Parashakti, the Supreme Divine Mother. And when at the time of Srishti, she brings forth this whole universe, that Parashakti rolls forth through different stages. And these are called Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. The Ichha Shakti is the willpower. That's why I'm introducing this word. Where does this will in us originate from? So Ichha Shakti is the willpower. And the supreme willpower is unimpeded. Nothing can obstruct it. It is so powerful that it rolls forth this whole universe on the template of a previous creation. That Ichha Shakti unfolds into the next level, which is called Jnana Shakti, the knowledge. How the template on which this physical material world then appears. So it rolls through this Jnana Shakti, and then the physical material world in which we live evolves, and we call it Kriya Shakti. So there is a sequence of that energy radiating from the depths of the Supreme Being and becoming more and more gross until the material world has evolved, Srishti. It remains there for a while and then revolves back into its course at the time of Pralaya. Whatever happens in the supreme macrocosm also happens in a microcosm. We are a part of the microcosm. Within us also these three forces are operating. Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. So, if you look at in our practical everyday life, you get up in the morning and you say, first thing, I will get up. I will have a shower, I will dress up, I'll have my breakfast, I will get into my car, I'll drive. And throughout the whole day, there is a sequence, internal driving force, which is a will force, which is says, I will do this, I will do this, I will do this. So within us, just like in the macrocosm, is that Ichha Shakti, the willpower. And we are discussing this in detail because Swami Vivekananda says, mastering this willpower is the essence of education. The training by which the current and expression of will is brought under control and made fruitful. So here we go. If you observe our everyday life, there's a whole stream of will that runs after the other. The next idea is the current of will. So what do we mean by the current? We understand electric current, water current, air current. When something flows in the same direction, one after the other, that is called a current. Electrons, charges are flowing in a particular direction. So when we say the current of will, it means this willpower is in a particular direction, one forming one behind the other, just like an air current. And if we can maintain that direction with that intensity and focus, then those all small vectors, so to say, just like in physics we understand vector addition, if they're all aligned in the same direction, they all end up in a resultant positive force. Likewise, the willpower of a person, if he can maintain it in the same direction, that willpower adds up into a tremendous willpower that is able to deliver the result to that person, whatever that person is seeking. So, how does that willpower unfold? We talked in the cosmic level, it's Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. Let us take an example of these three Shaktis, these energies playing in our own personal self. So, suppose a person wants to go from one place to the other, and he says, I will go to from Calcutta to Delhi. That's his sankalpa, that's the resolution he makes. And just by saying that I will go will not make him arrive at the destination. It has to translate to the next level of Jnana Shakti. Does he know how to get there? What are the means to get there? Yes, he can go by train, by car, by plane, various options. What are the requirements for that person? All that is called knowledge, Jnana Shakti. And when he has acquired that part of it, so has he reached Delhi? No. That has to go to the next phase called Kriya Shakti. Is to purchase a ticket, get into the plane, fly, and reach the destination. So you see, in our everyday life, we are playing with these energies, Shaktis. It might be a small thing like I'll make a cup of tea, or it could be a long process like I will become a doctor, and sustained Ichha Shakti has to be maintained throughout 6-7 years through difficulties, challenges, a lot of sacrifices, and the end result that is delivered is somebody has become trained into a doctor. Or if somebody says, I will realize God, that even requires a tremendous amount of Ichha Shakti to persevere through all the difficulties and challenges. But nonetheless, we are all playing with this same energy, Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. So when Swami Vivekananda says that education is the training by which the current and expression of will is brought under control, he's talking not about all this information that we gather from our books and from teachers in the universities. He's talking about this inherent power that is inside us, which we use in everyday life. But there are some who, through proper training, develop a very strong willpower, very resolute willpower. And others who do not develop it because they don't train that willpower have a very weak willpower. And as soon as some difficulties and challenges come in life, they either dodge this or try to avoid them, or give up and change their direction, and they never reach their destination. Those who have developed that resolute willpower are the ones who succeed in life. And so, let's look at the definition again. We'll revisit that and try to explore and see how we can relate to that in our own individual life. Because Sri Ramakrishna said, as long as I live, so long do I learn. That means this whole life is a learning education, and every experience is a great teacher through which we can harness that energy and give that focus and apply it for a higher spiritual purpose of self-realization. So the training by which the current and expression of will, we have understood the current of will, this little wills that we have every day in all our activities, we have to maintain a particular direction. There has to be a sankalpa. You can't be randomly drifting in this way, that way, then it doesn't develop that inner strength. And if it's a force, the force will have a result out of it. Any action has a result, a phala. So that will end up in an expression of will. An outcome is there. Some destination you will reach. So the current and expression of will is brought under control. So the idea, next idea in the definition, you see it's a beautiful definition, how all those words in that sentence have so much deep meaning. Is brought under control and made fruitful. So what does it mean by bringing that willpower under control? And this is the whole essence of sadhana, tapasya. Everyone has got a willpower. In a child, it is random in all directions. We go through an education system where we go through a particular discipline in education, where our minds are trained to focus on a particular subject matter and persist until the mind develops the capacity to unleash the knowledge in that particular field. And we come out being called a doctor, engineer, whatever. So it's a training of that mind that is more important than the information that is acquired during the training. That makes one successful in life. So the training by which the current and expression of will is brought under control. In our human body, where is that controller? Not human being, not the body. So the physical body is controlled by the subtle nerve currents. If I say I want to raise my hand high, in my mind there's a thought says lift the hand up, and that thought is translated through the mechanism of the brain into nerve currents, which make the muscles contract, and there's corresponding movement in there. But what controls those thoughts? What is the power behind that? And that power which controls the thought is the subtler power behind the thoughts itself, and that is called buddhi. In the Katha Upanishad, the parable, the analogy is given is of that of a chariot. The body is the chariot, the senses are the horses, the reins are the mind, and the chariot, the buddhi, is the chariot. And if he is awake and strong and has a strong grip on the reins of the mind, he can control the horses. And if that mind is weak, or the chariot is asleep or drunk or is absent, then the horses have a free day and they take the individual to some catastrophe. So that is what is to be awakened and strengthened. And sadhana is about, spiritual sadhana is about awakening that buddhi. And once that is done, then one is in safe hands. Chariot is under control. So this buddhi is that power of discrimination inside us that will discern what is good and bad, what is right and wrong. And if it's strong and sharp and subtle, it can discriminate between what is real and unreal, then a person is able to reach the destination. And if that buddhi is clouded, weak, then we are at the mercy of the senses and external forces. And even though we might have wonderful ideas that we want to, destinations we want to reach, but the weak buddhi, the intellect, is not there to support and help us reach that goal. So, the training by which the current and expression of will is brought under control. This controlling power is developed through exercises. Just like repeatedly you do something until you develop a mastery over it. Likewise, when we want to develop that resolute willpower, then we put ourselves through some discipline and some training.
and it's always against the nature of the flow of things. When we flow along the river water, we don't develop the strength. When we swim against the current, then the strength manifests itself. When we lift the weight against the force of gravity, then the strength develops itself. So in life, there will be so many challenges, and these challenges can be looked upon as problems, which we want to dodge and escape, or they can be looked upon as exercises through which the inherent strength of the will or the self is exercised and manifested. And for that reason, Swami Vivekananda says that this world is a gymnasium where we come to do exercises to make ourselves spiritually strong. And so there are two ways of looking at this. Problems come and we want to avoid them because we are weak, or we say, yes, I will turn them to my advantage, and I believe in the inherent power of the self within me, and I'll use this challenge that is there. It's not a problem, it's a challenge now, it's an exercise, and I will pitch myself against that, and the net result that I will get is that inner strength, muscles that will manifest in me, a strong willpower. So when Swami Vivekananda says, we want muscles of iron, nerves of steel, within which dwells the willpower, the strong like the thunderbolt, that willpower is to be exercised through sadhana and tapasya. Where there's a student who says, I'm going to discipline myself through rigorous studies and all that so that I can control my mind and manifest that power. Or it is a sadhaka who says, I will sit down for an hour and do my japa. I will give a goal to my mind that I will keep it within the loop of the repetition of the mantra, and I have given one form for the mind to concentrate on, and I will hold it in such a way that it does not wander away from that object of meditation and from that mantra. In the beginning, when the willpower is strong, weak, you'll find that the mind wanders away. And everyone complains that when I try to meditate, the mind is so restless, it's all over the place. But as you keep on exercising, it's a form of training, it's a form of tapasya, that willpower develops and becomes stronger and stronger until you develop that capacity to hold it on the object of meditation and concentration as long as you want. So that is a form of tapasya through which the willpower is developed. In the olden days, there were different types of tapasya, like people would stand on one foot, or hold their hands high, or take a vow that they will not do something, and the body and the senses will persist in one way, but they will pitch the mind against the lower senses to develop that capacity. Even the common and practice everyone does of fasting. So when you say on a particular day, Ekadasi day, people fast. And they say, make a resolution that today I will not eat from until sunset or something. By midday you become hungry and the body is now asking for some food. But the mind has said, I have made a sankalpa, decision that I will not feed you. There's a tussle, there's a battle against hunger. And whichever wins, who wins? If the willpower is weak, maybe by 2 o'clock you make some compromise and have something. And if it's very weak, you cannot carry it to the end of the day. But if you are resolute, the willpower is very strong, then by the end of the day, you find that you have achieved your goal. And the net result is you have developed a tremendous capacity and strength and confidence in yourself that whatever I resolve, I can achieve. This mind is a very powerful tool in front of me. So there's so many ways through which we can develop that willpower throughout the day. But remember that willpower is behind every action. So we can keep a handle on that rudder. Don't let the thoughts drag us in whichever direction they want. Don't let the senses draw in whichever direction we want. We set up a goal, and through that exercise, we try to unharness the power of the will, develop it. When we read Swami Vivekananda's teachings in the Karma Yoga, he gives this wonderful example of Lord Buddha and how through many lifetimes he kept on developing the tremendous willpower until he came in this life where he one day sat down under the Bodhi tree and made that resolution. I will not get up from this seat until I realized the truth. That tremendous willpower is not something that happened overnight. It is systematically developed through practice. And these people who sacrifice, let me just put this off, people who uh, understand this whole philosophy and say in life we will uh, harness that energy of the willpower that's present within us, not at the physical level, not at the mental level, but at a higher level, through which they control their mind. Once that mastery comes, then life is a wonderful adventure. Whether you want to achieve something wonderful in this physical world or in the spiritual world, you have the tools by which we can achieve that. So let us go back to the definition again. The training by which the current and expression of the will is brought under control and made fruitful is education. A wonderful definition, but nothing to do with book learning, university education, or getting enrolled into a school. That's how normally people associate education with, in the primary school, secondary school. But this is a whole life of learning where we try to gain mastery over these higher powers that are available inside us, the buddhi power. And with the help of that, then we can achieve much higher things, including self-realization or realization. You will notice that even in greatly accomplished people who are very successful in life, they have that wonderful intelligence and all those things, but do they have that tremendous willpower or not? And those who have are the ones who achieve great things, and those who do not, they make some sankalpa, want to achieve that goal, but when challenges and difficulties come, they change their track and wander around. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna, conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. He, as Arjuna, is a highly accomplished warrior, versed in many fields of knowledge and sciences, and very eager to fight. But before the battle starts, even before somebody has shot an arrow at him, he is a defeated man, shaking and shivering, confused, making all types of excuses to run away from the battlefield. To such a person, Sri Krishna introduces this idea, two ideas. One is that of the Atman, the infinite power behind that, and he introduces the idea in chapter 2 itself of this buddhi, the ekagra buddhi, vyavasayatmika buddhi, one-pointed mind, that willpower which can hold tenaciously on whatever one resolves. It has to be that one-pointedness that's the secret of it. When it is all over the place in all directions, then it is called, Sri Krishna says, Bahushaka Anantascha. Like a mango tree with many branches in many directions, it doesn't grow into a very tall tree. But like a coconut palm, if it goes straight up without any branches, it reaches very high. So the secret of success in life is to not have too many directions through which the energy that is within us is dissipated, but to fix up a high spiritual goal and channelize that buddhi shakti, willpower that is within us in that direction, and harness that energy. This intensification of that power on one point is what brings about wonderful success in life. If you, as an example, you might say is, look, on a sunny day, if you put a piece of paper out in the sun, well, nothing much happens, the piece of paper just gets warm. But if one gets a magnifying glass and can concentrate that light and heat on one singular point, the focal point, that intense heat will light up the piece of paper or piece of wood. So it's not that more light was brought or more heat was brought, but it was concentrated. So that is the essence of education. And Swamiji says the basis of education is this capacity to concentrate the mind, which again is another way of saying harnessing that willpower on a singular point. And he said that, look, if I had my education again and had any say in that matter, and not just what my parents are saying that you have to memorize all these books and subjects, if I had a say in my education, He said, I would learn the art of concentration first, and then with that perfectly concentrated mind, master any subject that I want very quickly. So that is the essence. It's about harnessing that higher power beyond the mind. The important thing to keep in mind in all this is that if you want to master something, you have to take help of something higher than that. The solution to a problem is not at the same level as the problem, it's always at the next level. So if you want to control the mind, it cannot be controlled by the mind itself. It has to be controlled by something higher, finer, subtler than that. And that is the buddhi power. To give an example, if later on you can try this out, if you take 6 matchsticks, put them on a flat table and try to construct 4 equilateral triangles. You can visualize it. 3 of them will make one triangle. You put another 2, you've got 2 triangles. You used 5 matchsticks, you've got 1 left. Can you make another 2 equilateral triangles with that? And you'll find out that no matter how long you do that, forever, so long you keep on operating on the 2-dimensional plane, you'll never get more than 2 triangles. But if you switch over to the 3rd dimension, then it becomes a triangular pyramid. And suddenly you have got a solution. What we are trying to say is that the solution to the problem is not in the 2 dimensions, but on the 3rd dimension. So when we are trying to learn the art of controlling the mind, because mental health is very important and all those things, the solution is not mind controlling the mind, it is the buddhi or the higher power that is to be awakened. And so that is the secret of education. Once that is developed, harnessed, then we are empowered with a tool, the rudder, by which we can control that. In the old traditional system, how did the Vedic rishis do that? How did they build this into the education system? Well, they classified education in 2 levels. One is aparavidya, lower secular knowledge, what we learn about the material sciences, physical sciences in the universities. And they said there is another type of education called paravidya, higher knowledge, which is the knowledge of the Vedanta, Upanishad, the knowledge of our higher self, who I am, where do I come from, where do I go? I want to solve this mystery of my own existence. So that higher knowledge requires a different type of intelligence and intellect. And the rishis, the great teachers, they understood how to do that. So a child at the age of 7 would be initiated into the Gayatri mantra. And in that mantra is embedded a spiritual power. And that power is by doing japa, repetition of that mantra with great earnestness as a child would do, it awakens that buddhi power. Bhargo devasya dhimahi, dhiyo yona prachodaya. The dhi power, the medha shakti is what is awakened with the help of the mantras. Because the rishis knew the secret and science of awakening of that power through that mantra shakti. And embedded in the Gayatri mantra is that wonderful power. When the mantra is repeated with great sincerity and devotion for a long time, it awakens in that person that wonderful shakti to grasp the subtle concepts. The wonderful concentration is there. Endowed with that, they could discern the secrets of the scriptures and apply them correctly, and were also successful in their everyday life. That's why ancient India produced such great, beautiful scientists and all that. But in the modern education system, there's no concept of that idea of awakening this higher power. It's all about putting so much information, processing it, manipulating that, and it's at the mental level only. Beyond that art and secret science that our Vedic knowledge system had, it is not there. Along with that, of course, the various other spiritual disciplines are there by which we harness that power in the body, in our mind. Otherwise, if all that energy is frittered away at a very gross sense level, then there's nothing to channelize to a higher level. And that's where, in this first stage of journey in the traditional system, was 25 years of practice of brahmacharya, it was called, where we harnessed the physical energies, the sense energies, and sublimated them with the help of japa and meditation, and opened this higher faculty inside us through which this mind will be controlled. And then we have this mastery over this mind. We are not slaves of the mind. So it's a beautiful definition. Uh, if we start in this journey under the guidance of our spiritual teachers, and that's why Swami Vivekananda always said the model of education is the Gurukula system, where the young children would learn these things under the guidance of teachers. But it's a lifelong journey. If we are aware of this idea, the idea of education as Swami Vivekananda wanted, it is about awakening that higher power, the power, strengthening that willpower, the buddhi shakti with which we can manage the thought process, which we can discriminate, through which we can discriminate between the real and the unreal, the permanent and the temporary, the right and the wrong. Then we have got a wonderful guide in our life. That's your best friend. And when that best friend is not there, then we are at the mercy of the senses and external forces, and most of the time life ends in some disaster. So the essence of education is empowering ourselves. That power is there potentially in all of us. Education systems should awaken that power in us, and it's a process, it's a training. It's available in all of us. Some people harness that power, make a tremendous, gigantic willpower, and others have a very weak willpower, where small problems unsettle them and ends up in a failure. So we come into this world again and again, endowed with these powers that are inherent in us. That power that flows in the cosmic level as Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti also flows in our individual lives every moment as Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. The difference between people, one person, the other, is how much control they have over that. And sadhana and tapasya means going through that training, abhyasa, by which we strengthen that power inside us. And then we have a very powerful friend with us to guide us in the journey, just like Arjuna had that charioteer in the form of Shri Krishna. Likewise, that Shri Krishna as our buddhi dwells inside us, but we have to seek friendship with it. We have to avail that help. But if that buddhi is sleeping, then as in the Kathopanishad, as it says, we cannot, no matter how wonderful goals we set for ourselves, we don't have the right tool to reach the destination. So that in brief is a bit of a discussion on one of the definitions of Swami Vivekananda on education. It is something that we have to think and try to understand, assimilate that, and then see how each one of us can apply that in our life and understand that whatever challenges and problems come, there are so many opportunities for us to exercise in this gymnasium of this world to make ourselves spiritually strong, having faith that the infinite power of the Atman at the depth of our being is the reservoir through which, from which that power, Ichha Shakti, and all powers flow through. But we require a proper conduit, a proper channel through that power will flow. And all the great teachers, Buddhas, Christs, great world movers had this tremendous willpower that they developed over time, over many lifetimes, and that's why they could leave such a wonderful impact on the world. Others come and go, no one notices them, so to say. How we can understand this and apply this in our life and become stronger. And that's what we want. Strength is life, weakness is death. This willpower is to be strengthened, and all the opportunities, no matter how small our work is there, is an opportunity to strengthen this willpower. So that is the definition. As long as I live, so long do I learn. So it's nothing to do with school and education. Whole life, every moment is an opportunity to develop that power. And as the mind becomes sharper and sharper, nature reveals the secrets to us, and we learn and we grow. That's our best friend in everything, especially in our spiritual journey. A wonderful, controlled, disciplined willpower has tremendous control over it, and very strong, is our best guide, our best friend in the spiritual journey. and not only in the spiritual journey, even in our secular everyday life. It's the same mind we are using at the time of meditation or whatever we are doing. It's not that two different minds. And if we develop the strength using our everyday activities, then that willpower becomes a wonderful tool at the time of meditation. So I think we have finished, about 45 minutes.
Thank you very much, Maharajji. We are so very grateful to you. Maharajji has started with a kind of caution that it is not university education or degree or book knowledge, book learning, but it is more of higher level of learning. He again and again emphasized Sri Ramakrishna's saying that we have to learn as long as we live, and he highlighted three important points. One is willpower, which is the essence of his lecture, and higher power of learning, not university degree, Paravidya, and art of concentration. These are the three things that he highlighted very much. So, thank you, audience, and thank you for participating. So, if you have any question, please question or observation or any remark or anything that you would like to know from Maharajji. Because to know from the practitioner is the best thing. So please, one by one, introduce yourself. Let us be precise, and one person will speak at a time. Thank you. Hiranya, do you have anything to ask?
No, 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 okay.
Shirish, Kasturi, you wanted to ask something?
Yes, Maharaj, Pranam. It was a very interesting lecture. Enjoyed it thoroughly. I would like to. I have two queries. One is you were talking about the consciousness and the Ichha Shakti, the cosmic level, the three types of Ichha Shakti, and it is at the microcosm level in us also. In the cosmic level, can you give some example? I missed the some initial part. Maybe you have already talked about it, but I missed it. So I would love to know from you what are the examples of those. And the second thing is a personal one. Being a mother, I try to make my child meditate, sit for meditation, few minutes every day, which she does not enjoy at all. So I'm trying to make it a point that she does it so every day, because I see the benefit of doing it in the long run. But because she does not enjoy at this moment, sometimes it is it is a lot of time is spent on trying to make her do it. So am I doing the right thing as a mother, or do you think that if she willingly takes it up, that should be the right approach?
How old is the child?
She's just turned 16.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she should be able to meditate. Okay, yeah, it's about meditation is about concentrating the mind, but if the object of meditation is something interesting, then the mind naturally goes towards that. And if it's not something interesting, then it tries to wander away from that. So, if the spiritual ideas, what are the benefits of meditation from their own perspective, that it will enhance their power of concentration, make them better students, they can master the subject matter without much effort. Those practical ways of communicating to them is important, and they can see the relevance of that in their life. What is in there for me is what the modern generation asks. And if you say this meditation is going to sharpen your mind so that you become a wonderful student, and later on, whatever profession you take, you have this wonderful tool that you will be extremely successful as a doctor or engineer, whatever, then suddenly they are interested. Oh, this is very good for me, and I will spend some time in harnessing that power of the mind. But if you just say it's all about self-realization, God realization, maybe that's too high a theme for them to early, for them to understand. So be practical in that sense about how you introduce meditation to them, something that should be relevant to them. Regarding your first part question about this Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, at the macrocosmic level, this is how this whole universe is unfolded. Srishti happens out of that. So Sri Ramakrishna says I have seen in the ocean of cosmic consciousness millions of universes rise and fall just like waves in the ocean. And if you imagine our own universe of 14 billion years with billions of galaxies in there, is just one of those waves in the ocean. So that cosmic consciousness of Brahman is that unimpeded power. If you want to read a little bit more and understand, look at Swami Vivekananda's complete works where there is a conversation with Sharat Chandra Chakravarti, and look at the subject of Shabdas, Shabda. It's a very interesting conversation where Swamiji talks about this cosmic manifestation through which, of this cosmic willpower through which this whole creation takes place. Sri Ramakrishna says at the time of Pralaya, the Divine Mother gathers the seeds of the future creation, just like at home the grandmother gathers the various pumpkin and cucumber seeds at the end of the season. In the next season, she plants and brings out all those crops. Likewise, the Divine Mother gathers these, the gross world merges into the subtle, subtle merges in the causal, and then it all merges into the great cause, Mahakaran. And then, because her willpower is so strong, she uses that power to project this whole universe. And all these lokas from Brahmaloka down to these lower planes, they all roll forward and are controlled by that cosmic power, which is called rhythm, that maintains the balance and all that. That's a subject on its own, a very interesting, vast subject, but that power is manifesting us in our everyday life, being aware that this body and mind is the playfield of the divine. She is ever working through us, and praying to her to be gracious so that the mind is not scattered out through the senses outwards, but is restrained and focused within. With the help of japa and meditation, with divine grace, we enhance that power. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. Pranam again.
Sirish, would you like to make any observation or ask?
Yes, sure, Namaskar, Maharaj. Yeah, one good point that you have highlighted in a different way, the problem and the solution. The solution is in a different plane, you have mentioned, and gave a great example of the pyramid, the solving the six, with six matchsticks, four triangles, right? So that is definitely a different way of looking at it. And I mean, out of the box solution, we use it so many times, but to understand, okay, we have to solve the problems using, a different dimension altogether. That is definitely a great input, Maharaj. A couple of things that I want to ask: how to harness this Ichha Shakti? Are there any techniques? A couple of techniques, if you can share, that will be of great help.
Well, if you look at the example of, say, a practical example of sunlight, you put a magnifying glass. The shape of that particular glass has the property that it will focus that light on a focal point. And when it's intensified, it creates that magic of lighting the piece of paper. So in the material, for material energy, heat and light, we use something like that. But now if you visualize yourself subjectively that here's the physical body, and behind the physical body is your subtle body, the mental body, in which thoughts and ideas are there. They're all running all over the place, uncontrolled. But beyond that, even finer and subtler, that is the causal body, the buddhi, where the buddhi power is. And that is, there's no magnifying glass like that, so to say, through which that inner power of the Atman flows and is focused. So what did the rishis do? They understood the science of the mantras and said that, look, there are within the mantra, there is like a magnifying glass. You give a shape to that buddhi, or the mantra unleashes a type of energy which helps to develop that willpower embedded within that. it's very difficult to little explain because it is a subtle level. But our Vedic teachers understood that, and that's why when you go to a spiritual teacher and say to Guru and say, I would like to realize God. Now, just like Sri Krishna says, you need to have that Divya Chakshu, that subtle vision. And a spiritual teacher says, okay, I'll give you the mantra. And you have to have faith in that mantra and its power, knowing it not to be different from the Supreme Being, Nam, Nami, Abhed, God and His name are not different, and believe in that infinite power that is embedded within the mantra, in the Bija mantra. But through the practice of japa, repetition, japat siddhi, they say perfection is attained through the repetition of the mantra. And so we get this from our spiritual teachers, and the rest is then sadhana. You work on that mantra, and morning and evening in a dedicated way. Just a few minutes of doing 108 time mantras, okay, you will get something. But if you really want to have that tremendous concentration and harness the power of the mantra, then you have to do it like Holy Mother said, just like the tick-tock of the clock, you repeat the mantra, and the rest of the thing happens.
Maharaj, there I have one query. Sorry to cut you off there. You mentioned about the spiritual aspect, right? Some of the times we will also apply for the practical aspect also of the life to increase the concentration. How do we know that whether whatever we are willing is the right will? It can be different from what is God's will, right? So in that case, if we are applying it in a different direction, will it not be a conflict?
Well, the scriptures are your guide. They will tell you, what is right, what is wrong, what is dharma and what is adharma, which is moral, which is immoral, which will lead you to your higher self within, and what will take you on the path of pravritti outside. So there's all that instruction is there. It's not that we do not understand. Everyone will have sufficient grasp of it. It's that we don't have that much control, that we do things in spite of ourselves. We understand in our hearts that this is what I should not do, but the senses are so strong that drag the mind away mercilessly, so to say. And so it's not about knowing so much, it's about developing that capacity to implement what we know, so to say, is the trick here. I think that is what we learn. And of course, it's harnessing that power. So along with that, in all spiritual path, there is some discipline is necessary. It's these disciplines of japa and meditation sublimate raise the mind to another energy level. But first there has to be some petrol in the tank, so to say, that you can burn and ignite and drive the car. And so along with that, you will find that in all traditions, this sadhana is based on yama and niyama. We have to block all these lava channels through which the energy is dissipated through the sense-bound world. And that's why the do's and don'ts are there. And in spiritual life, especially if you want to develop this willpower, Sri Ramakrishna and all the spiritual, is the practice of continence, chastity, brahmacharya. That's where the real power is. Through japa and meditation, that energy which normally gets dissipated through the lower channels is arrested, and japa and meditation is sublimated to a high energy that becomes transmitted. If you read Swami Vivekananda's Raj Yoga, transformed, sublimated into another type of energy, a spiritual energy, which is called ojas, which is then stored in the brain. And that is what is the essence of it, the magnetic personality, the charisma of a person, that subtle insight is when these energies that are available at the lower level are arrested, restrained, and transmitted into something at a high level. It's like, okay, a creek is flowing down the river, you build a dam, and you arrest that water. It builds a tremendous amount of pressure, and then you put that through an electrical turbine generator, and you get electrical energy. If you don't build a dam, there's no pressure. You can have your turbine, nothing will happen. So that's why in spiritual life, you have to understand that this control of this loss of that energy in the lower sense level is to be practiced. Along with that, the sadhana which then transforms that energy into a high spiritual energy. So the science is there. It's just we have to understand the thing and do the whole thing in a very logical, sensible manner over a period of time, and you will feel that energy within yourself, the awakening of that power. Yeah, these are all deep topics that are part of our spiritual sadhana. And
Thank you, Maharaj.
We are so grateful. Swami Baneshanandaji Maharaj has joined all the way from Berlin. Shashtang Pranam Maharaj Ji for joining.
Pranam Maharaj.
Oh, namaskar. Nice to see you, Niranjan.
Maharaj, how are you?
Keeping fine, Tadananda ji. I could see after such a long time. It was a nice, wonderful talk. Thank you.
If you put your camera, I can see you also then, Maharaj.
Oh, that is not very much appreciated, but you will see an old man.
There you are. That's good to see you, Maharaj.
Pranam Maharaj.
After a long time. Pranam.
Okay, namaskar. Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you. Nice.
So maybe we'll have our last question. If there is a last questioner, Mohanji, would you like to ask?
Your mic is off, I think, Nirmal Babu.
Maybe we are. This is the last question before we have two devotional songs. Mohanji, do you have anything to ask or observe? Or if not Mohanji, any last Mohanji?
Yeah, I have a question, Maharaji. Not exactly a question, a point of clarification. You said Jnana Shakti in the material world evolves into Kriya Shakti. Is this what is responsible for the results that we produce, the success or whatever in the material world?
Yes, so if you logically think the activity at the physical world, if you say Kriya in that sense, if you do not have a knowledge to do it, then the outcome doesn't come. So for example, I gave example that you wanted to go to a particular place, if I want to go from Auckland to Wellington, that's a Icha, But if I do not know how to go, what direction, what transport and all those things, then that knowledge has to come. And we collect that. But then that I might know, it again has to translate to the next level where it becomes applied. So that's what Swamiji said, the practical Vedanta. Vedanta is knowledge, spiritual knowledge. It should go to the next level. But the Vedanta gives a sense of direction, how it's going to unfold. But what is driving that knowledge, if you want to take something today out of this talk, is a willpower behind even the Jnana Shakti. And that is present in all of us in every activity. Even every little will we do. So if we train ourselves, we are mindful that life is about harnessing this tremendous willpower. Later on in whatever goal we want to apply, that will be our jnana, it can then materialize and manifest into a result which is kriya. Otherwise, we have so many desires and we try something, but the driving force behind is not so strong. It's weak will, and a little bit of difficulty comes and it succumbs to that. So when Swami Vivekananda said education is that because you want something out of life, the secret is not just knowing that. It's about having the tremendous willpower that will drive that knowledge into an activity, desired goal. And the essence of education is about developing the willpower, which is missing in our Western educational system. So much information, so much knowledge is there, but that willpower is not developed. And if you think about the maladies of this world, with so much depression and this and that, is yes, we know I have so much energy, knowledge about there, but a very weak willpower. And when that is missing, then all types of problems come. So our Vedic method of teaching or education, the principles were so profound and so deep. And how we can apply that in our own life and how we bring up our children or in the schools, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Maharaji.
Thank you, Maharaji, for your very insightful and inspiring replies and clarifications. So now we'll have two short bhajans. We have two Ranjanadis from uh, India, Delhi and Ghaziabad. Dr. Ranjana Bhattacharya from New Delhi. She will present for all of us a devotional song. So, Dr. Ranjana Bhattacharya, please, you can present your devotional song.
Pranam Swami Tarananda ji and Pranam Swami Baleshananda ji. Pranams to Vishwajit Maharaj and Namaskar Nirmal Babu and to all of you present here. Of course, we will pray for Mrs. Rosanna also today. And like Swami Tarananda ji has just said, that how Swami Vivekananda spoke about secular ideas and the assimilation of secular ideas. Yes. I will be singing a song, and in this song, we will be singing in praise of the Lord. Whoever is the King of Kings in our lives, may that be Sri Ramakrishna, that could be Lord Jesus, that could be Lord Buddha. So we will be singing in praise of the Lord and singing, and I will be saying, Sing Hosanna, Sing Hosanna. This is a Jewish term in praise of the King of Kings, whoever is the King of Kings in our lives. Give me joy in my heart, keep me praising. Give me joy in my heart, I pray. Give me joy in my heart, keep me praising. Keep me praising till the end of day. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the King of Kings. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the King. Give me oil in my lamp, keep me burning. Give me oil in my lamp, I pray. Give me oil in my lamp, keep me burning. Keep me burning till the end of day. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the King of Kings. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the King. Give me love in my work, keep me serving. Give me love in my work, I pray. Give me love in my work, keep me serving. Keep me sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the King of Kings. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the King. Give me peace in my mind, keep me resting. Give me peace in my mind, I pray. Give me peace in my mind, keep me resting. Keep me resting till the end of day. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the King of Kings. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna to the King.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ranjana Bhattacharya. We are so lucky and privileged to have two Ranjanadis, very accomplished singers, and they always sing devotional songs for us. So now I would request other Ranjanadi. Today is Akadashi. We had Ramakrishna Ramnam Sankirtanam at our center today, and so it is a very other Ranjanadi will sing one Sri Ramakrishna Sri Ramnam Ram Bhajan. So Ranjanadi. Okay. Yes.
Pranam Maharaj. मत चलत रामचंद्र मत चलत रामचंद्र पागत पैज मत चलत रामचंद्र पागत पैज चलत रामचंद्र तिलकी तिलकी उठत धाय तिलकी तिलकी उठत धाय गिरत भूमि लटपटाय तिलक तिलक उठत धाय गिरत भूमि लटपटाय धाय मातु गोद लेते धाय मातु गोद लेते दशरथ की रहिया घूमत चलत रामचंद्र आजत पैजनिया झुमत चलत रामचंद्र अंचल रज अंगधारी अंचल रज अंगधारी विविध भांति सोडुलारी अंचल रज अंगधारी विविध भांति सोडुलारी तन मन धन बारी बारी तन मन धन बारी बारी कहत मधुबन जनि आठमत करत बाजत भजनिया ठुमक करत रामचंद्र तुलसीदास अति आनंद तुलसीदास अति आनंद देख के मुखार बिंद तुलसीदास अति आनंद देख के मुखार बिंद रघुबर छवि के समान रघुबर छवि के समान रघुबर छवि दुनिया रामचंद्र भागत पैजनिया ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र
Ranjanali, thank you for the beautiful Ram Bhajan on this Ekadashi day. Thank you very much for presenting such a beautiful song for us. And now I would request our Hiranyamukhopadhyay to kindly give vote of thanks to Revered Maharaj Ji and all the participants. We are so thankful and grateful to Maharaj Ji for sparing time for us and giving us the Amrit Bani, how to concentrate our mind and uh, and also our participants for being present. So I would now request Hiranya to kindly give vote of thanks to Revered Maharaj Ji and all our participants. Hiranya Mukhopadhyay. Hiranya.
Can you hear me, Nirmal?
Yes, very much.
Because my computer, I lost, exhausted the battery charge, so I'm talking from the mobile. So, nevertheless, thank you, Maharaj, on behalf of all the devotees of Manila, not only from Manila, from Auckland and from India. Thank you again, Maharaj, and heartfelt thanks for this wonderful lecture.
So we have come to the end of this program. So we can have 1 or 2 minutes for saying pranam to Maharaj Ji. So please unmute yourself. Others will remain muted. So only one person will speak at a time. So we can have 2 minutes, 1 minute to take the opportunity of Tadananda Ji's presence to say pranam and say greetings to him.
Jai Bhagwan, Swamiji.
Himmat bhai, nice to
From
see you.
Himmat Soni. Jai Bhagwan.
So thank you.
Namaste.
So thank you everybody.
Namaste to all of you. That's nice you meeting over the technology, reaching out in this way. Thank you to Swamiji there for giving this opportunity to connect in your this series of talks and
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj. It was a wonderful lecture. Thank you very much. Pranam again.
So I will end the program here. Give me 30 seconds so that I can end the recording, and then since we have come to an end of the program, I will be the last person to leave. So let me end the recording and come back to you.